So Christmas cleaning windows on the Fylde Coast. So I'm just topping up the van, ready for Monday. I've got Andy out on another job, or two jobs to get done. Let's just close that. And yeah, so letting the engine run on the van so we can top up the battery. The split charger broke, so over like a couple of weeks there was a period where the battery wasn't charging, so we've got to keep topping the battery up, etc., and I'll put it on a trickle charge later on. So yeah, I wanted to do a video today as a quick response to a question from one of our subscribers, FH Enterprises, talking about buying window cleaning rounds. I have done a video about customer gathering. As part of that was buying window cleaning rounds, etc. But just give me a minute. But I'll do, so we'll talk a bit more about that now in depth. So buying the window cleaning round, there's a couple of do's and don'ts that I stick by. I mean, for what my advice is worth. So I would only ever buy a window cleaning round for, generally speaking, 3 to 4 times the value of what your turnover from that round would be. So let's say, for argument's sake, you bought a window cleaning round. Just give me a minute. Sit in the van for a bit. Yeah, so as I've mentioned, if you're purchasing window cleaning round, a window cleaning work, should I say, then whatever it is that the yield from that, the work that you're purchasing, yeah, roughly 3 or 4 times the amount that money brings in should be what you'd be paying for it, assuming that it's a monthly turnover. Okay, so obviously when you're purchasing the rounds, you are purchasing the goodwill of the person that came before you, which leads me on to my second, sort of question that I ask myself is, if I'm going to purchase work off another window cleaner, I want to know how long he's been cleaning the round that he's been selling. So for argument's sake, on that round he could have 20 customers, and half of them he's only really been doing for about 3 months. All right, well, that's probably borderline, that's probably all right. But let's say, for argument's sake, he's selling a street of houses and he's only done them twice, or he's only done them once. I wouldn't purchase it, because there's no goodwill there. There's no assurance that it's regular work. There's no, whereas if you're buying a window cleaning round, let's say, off someone who's been cleaning windows on that street for 15 years, and he's just retiring to get out the game, there's goodwill there, because he's been cleaning those windows for a good long time. There's been a lot of trust and a lot of rapport been built with those customers, and crucially, those are the customers that want their windows doing. If you've been on the same street for 15 years, and the people that live on that street want their windows doing, so it makes sense to purchase it. It doesn't make sense to purchase work where, oh yeah, he's done them once and not gone back. Well, what's the point? You might as well set fire to your money now. When I have made a purchase for work in the past, it's always been by bank transfer. I've always bank transferred the money across to the guy that I'm purchasing it from, okay, for a number of reasons. Let's say, for argument's sake, if it's cash in hand, sort of money under the table, if you like, there's nothing wrong with cash in hand, necessarily. It is frowned on, but at the end of the day, we get cash jobs all the time in this industry, and it's to be expected. But when you're making a business purchase, I would put it through your bank account. I would bank transfer that money to the individual that you're purchasing that from, okay, and then there is an electronic record of a transaction, okay. Also, as I mentioned in other videos, it's a tax deductible business expense, okay. You can claim that money back from your tax. So if you're spending £5,000, argument's sake, on buying in work or buying it around, okay, that is a business expense, and as I understand it, it is tax deductible. But always check with an accountant in your area. The tax laws do differ between the United Kingdom, United States, Canada, Australia, etc. So it's always worth speaking to a tax advisor, some registered tax advisor. Okay, but because there is an electronic record of a transaction, let's say for argument's sake, you purchase this work, right? And the guy then decides, well, you know what? Hypothetically, this could happen. He sold that work to you, and then he sold it to someone else, or he sold that work to you, and then decided, well, you know what? I want to start window cleaning again, and he goes back to his old customers. There is then a case for you to take him to the small claims court for a civil to sue him for effectively fraud, because he sold you work, yeah, and then ultimately gone back on his word, and your money's worth nothing then. Okay, so you should always try and protect yourself. Have an electronic record through your bank. Let your accountant know what that money is going to purchase. Yeah, so then you have an electronic record. Your accountant is acting as a witness, effectively, that, oh yeah, I remember you purchased that round for £5,000 on this date, and there's the transaction. It's in black and white. There is no arguing with that. If you pay by cash, then he could always argue, what are you talking about? I've never met this guy in my life, and who's to tell you different? You know what I mean? It's your word against his then. So always try and protect yourself, is what I would say. When you're purchasing the work as well, it's especially with the whole attitude of customers for traditional window cleaning versus water-fed pole window cleaning. If you're purchasing the work, okay, try to purchase work that you specialize in. Okay, that doesn't make much sense to me. Okay, and it is a numbers game. Okay, so this can vary. When I purchased I bought around £5,000, and it yielded around about £1,400 a month. Okay, which is about right. Average. I'm not a problem with that. And I've continued to this day. That was 4 years ago, and I've continued to this day to keep on, sort of. 3 years ago. Sorry, it was 3 years ago, and I've still kept on cleaning the vast majority of them. There have been a couple that have dropped off. Some that have moved home, or even had the audacity to die on me. But no, joking aside, you do get this. You do get natural drop off the round, so it's nothing to worry about. But let's say again, a lot of these customers were water-fed pole window cleaning customers, so they knew what to expect. I didn't have to condition them. I didn't have to coach them. I didn't have to prep them to say, oh, by the way, I'm a water-fed pole window cleaner. I know that Sid's been doing your windows for 15 years, with a squeegee and a bucket, or he's been doing it for 15 years with a rag and chamois, sort of thing. So it makes sense to purchase work that you specialize in the vast majority of cases. Okay. Now, when I purchased the round for £5,000 off a guy called Richard, he's a cracking bloke, but he just wanted to get out of the game. I bought the round off him. It was about £1,400 worth of yield, and probably 2/3 of his work was water-fed pole. But there was a good chunk of them, about 30% of them that were traditional. And I took a risk, and I was a bit like, well, the way I see it, right? And I worked it out that there was around about £1,000 a month in water-fed pole window cleaning, okay? And really, there was only about, probably about maybe £300 to £400, £500 of traditional customers. So it was a risk, but at the same time, I knew that it was likely that most of those customers that didn't want to have the windows done with the water-fed pole may decide to chin me off. But then I'm not losing out completely, because I've still got £1,000 worth of water-fed pole work. So you know what I mean? It swings and roundabouts, and it does balance. So there's less work for you to do to try and coach customers around to your way of doing things. It may be the other way as well. I know many a customer that is so used to having water-fed pole, they don't really want traditional window cleaning anymore. Again, I'm not trying to pick a bun fight with anyone over trad versus water-fed pole. Everything each have their own Each has its own merits, etc. And it's not my intention to sort of, play one side off against the other. It's not about that. At the end of the day, money's money, and work is work. And as long as the customer's happy to part with their hard-earned for you to do it, well, it doesn't really matter. You could do trad, you could do waterfed pole, you could do it with a chamois, you could do it naked doing cartwheels. It doesn't really matter as long as the customer pays you. But some customers won't accept the change, and they just, and you have to be prepared to lose a proportion of that round that you purchase. Okay, and so long as you're happy with the return on investment from this, the area that you specialize in, then all is well with the world, kind of thing. So, and then also I would look at, excuse me, I would look at the, it's like say the yield. The yield. There is, I want to know as well the addresses as well. So opens is I want him to show me the areas, okay? And it might be, so when I bought them around for the first time, I was proper paranoid, if you like. I was almost certain this guy may try and rip me off. So I sat him, so I said to him, right, we'll drive round then. And he had a book, not too dissimilar to that, with all his window cleaning customers in. And he was doing it pen and paper sort of thing. Again, nothing wrong with that. There was no electronic CRM. So he's brought his book with him, and he sat in the passenger seat, and I drove the area, and he was like, yeah, that one. And then every now and then I would, if I was, I'd be like, right, so who does what on this area? And I'd make a note, who's water-fed pole, who is traditional, etc. Who have I got to dedicate my time to try and either convert them to water-fed pole, or if whatever you decide to do, who have I got to coach to sort of say, right, well, I'm water-fed pole, or I'm traditional, or I'm, the guy doing naked cartwheels, whatever. You have to know who you're talking to. So, right, well, that's Mrs. Smith. She lives at, 123 Joe Bloggs Lane. She has water-fed pole sort of thing, right? So, WFP, done. Right, next one. Or that's 45 Mrs. Brown from 456, but Cluster Lane, whatever, and she's trad. So I'd be like, right, trad, no dramas. And then I would go home and I would look at that and go, right, well, vast majority of them are water-fed pole, or half and half is trad, and blah blah, and work it out, okay, and then see if it's worth me spending the time trying to talk these customers around. But the thing is that I would, you only get to do that once you've made the purchase, once you've handed your money over. Okay, which is understandable, right? So you have to weigh up in advance as to whether or not it's worth parting with your money. When it came to me purchasing off Richard, there was a number of commercial jobs on there as well. So again, look at what you're specialising in. Are you looking to get more commercial work? Are you looking for residentials, etc., etc.? You know what I mean? If there's no sense in you purchasing around if you want more residential work, when they confront you with a tower block that you can't do. So you need to know, what equipment he's got and what he's used, because you may need that same equipment or something similar to complete the job. So, there's no sense in spending thousands of pounds on work if you actually go, well, I actually need to spend, 900 quid on a new water-fed pole because my water-fed pole won't reach the top 2 floors. So again, it's common sense, but you'd be surprised just how many times I hear people say, try and sell me work saying, oh, well, I bought it and I didn't realise it was that tall. And it was like, well, did you not visit the job to start with? And he was like, oh, no. I was like that. So, you know what I mean? It happens all the time. But yeah, like I said, there's nothing wrong with buying window cleaning rounds or buying window cleaning work, etc. You just have to, again, it's like with anything else, the devil's in the detail. Use your own common sense and due diligence, and you would be just fine. So another time I've purchased window cleaning work from a guy up in Fleetwood, and he wanted £600, and I'm thinking, well, 600 quid, it's probably only 200 quid's worth of window cleaning. It's probably going to be, a day's worth or whatever. I'm thinking, yeah, and he was like, no, it's a month's worth. I was like, what? So, oh yeah, you'll need 3 or 4 days. You'll need probably 4 or 5 days to get through it, on the ones that I'll give you. And I was like, well, why are you selling it for 600 quid? And he's like, well, to be fair, I just want something for it. I've not been for a while and all this sort of stuff. So this is the other thing you need to talk to him about as well, is to say, right, when was the last time you had your windows done? These customers had the windows done. This guy that I bought the round off 600 quid, we wanted 600 quid, right? And he fell off a ladder and he hurt his back. and he realised that cleaning windows just wasn't for him. He wanted out, and that was that. He was falling on hard times, etc. So he just wanted a quick sale. Okay. And it was 600 quid's worth, so he sold it for one clean. So it's £600 worth of. So I was, asked if I wanted the window cleaning work, and it was £600 worth of work for £600. Well, the return on investment is straight away. It's more or less as soon as you've done the windows, as soon as you've done the second month, you've doubled your investment. It was like, well, I'm all over that. And as it turns out, a lot of these customers, he hadn't been to see him for about 3 or 4 months, or 3 months, because obviously he's hurt himself. So I took a risk. Again, buying window cleaning rounds is a risk when all said and done. I took the risk, and I was like, yeah, go on then, whatever, 600 quid. And ultimately, it was about 480 quid's worth came on of the customers that he used to do. And then when I was there, I managed to expand the round even more. So it was worth it in the long run. £600 in, £480 back in the first month, and then ongoing window cleaning, and then I've expanded it. So again, it's worth it, depending on how much effort and how much time you're prepared to put in to bring people around to your way of doing things. So there was that, and in the end, I ended up paying him. I was soft, me. I ended up paying him 800 quid. To be fair, because I felt sorry for him. To be fair, it was a bit soft of me, I know, but so I am. So yeah, it's a Saturday. I'm about to just go and mong it in my house for the weekend. So yeah, joking aside, I've got to prep for jobs on Monday. There's a good sized care home again, and if the weather's nice, I'll probably be filming. I've not filmed doing any window cleaning work for a while now, just because the weather's been absolutely atrocious, and the last thing you want to do is put water into the camera. So yeah, I'll enjoy your weekend, peeps. Lockdown is ending pretty soon, hopefully. So be inviting a few of my subscribers that live locally for a hard-earned drink, I think, at some point. So let me know if you're up for it. I'll speak to you soon, peeps. Have a good one. All the very best.